Welcome to Still Surviving and Walking in Your Purpose. Today's guest has a real story of what it means to stand in your truth. Please welcome the author of Till Death Do Us Part, HIV and Me, G. Girard.
Hi.
G, welcome to the show.
Nice to meet you.
So G, please tell our audience, who is G. Girard?
Wow. I'm still trying to figure that out. I'm a vessel of God, so I'm just here to do His work.
I like that, a vessel of God. I wish everybody saw themselves that way.
We are, because this life is really not your own, it's God's.
It's His.
So you're here to do whatever He wants you to do.
Yes, yes. Sometimes it takes a minute to get to that place, though. Yeah.
Years sometimes.
Yeah. So share with us your survival story.
Okay, well, I was actually diagnosed with HIV in 2003. But actually, the night, I don't know if you remember this, when Rock Hudson died, I think it was like back in I think it was like 86.
Yeah.
But I remember that night on the news when they reported his death. And God whispered in my ear that night and told me that I was going to get this. But He told me to be honest, to stay honest, and He would protect me through it. So at the time, I'm like 11. So I didn't know anybody that was positive. I had never had that experience before. When I turned 16, I met a girl from high school, and her uncle had it. And I watched him die from it, and it was horrible. And it scared the bejesus out of me. And I got raped when I was 16, and that's how I became infected. But I didn't find out till like 10 years later.
You said you were 11 when you heard that.
Yeah.
And hearing that at 11, what would make you think or that would be something that would be a part of your life?
Well, because I always knew God, I knew His voice, so I knew where it was coming from. I knew it was inevitable, even though for years I was careful. I tried not to get it, but I knew it was my destiny. So once I got it, I went back to God and I said, I've been through so many things that should have killed me. Like, why did you allow me to survive all those things to now suffer this? So He said, I gave you an amazing writing ability and a story to tell. Tell your story. So a few months after that, I was in New York. I came down to Florida. I stayed with one of my friends here. And I sat in a room for 4 months every day. I would sit there, I would meditate first. And I would say to God, what do you want me to tell them today? And He would put me back in that memory. And then He would take me out of my body. And I would actually hover this room and watch God in me write this book.
Write the book.
So to be elevated, be out of your body, and like to watch God cry as He's typing your life, it was amazing.
You know, I firmly believe that writing is cathartic, writing is healing. And I believe that as you get those words, as those words come out of you, that there is a cleansing that takes place. Having read your story, I can understand some of what you say about having God cry at your story, because it's a very, very powerful story. And it takes a great deal of courage to tell your story. It takes a great deal of courage. So what was the catalyst that really, you said that God intended for you to put these words down? Was there some other catalyst or person or thing that made you really want to share your story?
No, this was all him. And we fought a lot.
Yeah.
We fought
That's
a lot
not an
because
easy thing.
I would go and I would sit and I would meditate, and he would put me back in that memory. And some things, you read the book, were very personal.
Mm-hmm.
That I'm like, no, it's going to my grave.
Yeah.
I'm not exposing this, it's too personal. And he
Yeah.
would say, no, it's needed, trust me. And I would say
Yeah.
no. And I would get up and I would walk away. And like, some things were so intense. Like I would
Right.
walk away for weeks. Like in
Yeah.
defiance, like, no, I'm not
I'm
going to
not
tell
telling
anybody
that.
that.
Yeah.
And then I would come back and I would sit there and I'd go through the whole meditation process again. And he would put me right back in that situation. And we would argue. And I would finally give in.
You know, we've talked about on the show how in telling your story, you not only tell your story, but you tell other people's story as well. Has there been any repercussion from telling your story?
It's been positive mostly, because a lot of people that come back to me, like, you wrote my story. Like, I'm reading this and I feel like I'm reading my own story. And I'm like,
Yes.
yeah. Because when I was going through all of this, I saw other people, and I would talk to people and they were going through the same things. I'm like, this is a conversation that needs to be started.
Yes.
Like, it's the pink elephant in the room all
Right.
the time, and it shouldn't be. And that's why people are still getting affected, because nobody wants to have
Nobody
the
wants to
conversation.
talk about it.
Right.
Nobody's willing to share their
And I have
story.
people tell me every other thing about their life, but for
But-
some reason
but
this
not
thing.
that. Yeah, yeah. And it's probably because of the stigmatism that's
Right.
around it.
And it seems to not be going away.
Yeah. And it's sad that it's not going away. It definitely needs to go away. The stigmatism needs to
Right.
go away. It needs to go away. In sharing your story, it is helpful because, like you said, there are other people that are reading your story and saying, this is my story as well. And it goes back to them people feeling alone, feeling like they're the only ones, when we know that you're not, But it's not until you get to that place where you share your story that other people are then free to share their story. And lots of times, our story, like you said, is very personal things, very painful things that have happened in our life. But it's in sharing that story that other people can find help and comfort. And it takes a great deal of courage to do that. So I really applaud your courage for being able to share your story in order to help someone else. I know that was difficult. It wasn't an easy thing for you to do. I like the fact that you said that you meditated. Was that to get you to a place of peace?
You know what? Because I went into this, I went into it blindly. Like, I didn't know anything about writing a book.
Yeah.
I didn't have an outline. I didn't know what I was going to talk about. I just went into this room. It was like a diary. So it's like
Yeah.
I'm just recording my personal thoughts.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And, it was a lot that went into that. It was a burden. It still is. Because, once I tell people, they treat you differently.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
it's hard, when you can see the fear in someone else's eyes.
Yeah.
Like you're a leper, and
Yeah.
then I noticed that, people that are close to me, even when I talk to them about the situation, because it's not a conversation most people have, people don't know how to talk about it. So they don't know how to comfort you, how to assist you with what you're going through, because they don't know what to say. They don't know what to
Yeah.
do because it's not out there like that. So
Right.
once, we get the conversation started, we can change a
Right.
lot of things.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's great to be willing to get the conversation started.
Right.
Even sharing your story with our audience is going to go a long way to getting those conversations started. So let me ask you, how has your life changed since you wrote the book?
I've gotten stronger.
Mm.
I've learned that standing in your truth, there's a power there. When you own everything about yourself and who you are, nobody can touch that. You're 10 feet tall at that point.
Standing in your truth. no one can own you. That's a
Right.
powerful statement. Gee, thank you so much for sharing your story with our audience. What would you say to someone that might be dealing with the same or similar circumstances as you shared in your book, things that you've gone through? What would you say to someone that might be dealing with the same?
You know what? I would have to say that it's okay. You're not alone. Many before you, there will be many after you. I think the most important thing is to find a base of people, a support system, because you need that. And I would say you have to be strong in who you are before you let this out, because people are going to judge you.
Yeah.
You know, it's not like cancer. Like if you tell some, you have cancer, you tell somebody, you're going through chemo and stuff like that. Everybody's pumping their fists and, they're rallying for you.
Rallying around you.
Right. But when you tell somebody that you're positive, then it gets flipped and it's like, okay, what perverse things was he doing to get this? This punishment from God, for your lifestyle or whatever it is. So until we can separate the disease from the thoughts behind it, then this is going to be the way it is.
It's going to be the way it is. It's interesting that you said that. My mother had lung cancer, and because she smoked cigarettes, she didn't want to tell anybody that she had lung cancer because she felt like everybody was going to say, you bought this on yourself. Based on your own actions, you bought this on yourself. But reality is, people are going to have their opinions. They're going to judge one way or another. But I love what you said about being strong in who you are and knowing who you are and standing in your own truth. I think once you get to a place where you can do that, it makes life a whole lot easier for you.
Right. Because
at that point, it doesn't matter what anybody else says. It doesn't matter what anybody else thinks. You have shared with us a powerful story. We're going to come back in just a few minutes, and you will get an opportunity to tell us what's next with Girard, and also how we can get your book. We'll be back in just a moment. Welcome back to our show. G, you said earlier that there were even people that were close to you, that really didn't know how to respond, even just in having conversation, because they knew your status, that they were uncomfortable and they didn't know how they should respond or how they should react. What would you share with people that really just don't know? I mean, they have a lack of knowledge. What would you say to those people to help them feel more comfortable and to help them have a better understanding of where you are and what your situation is?
See, when I started out, I used to do it with jokes. Like, I go to my family's house and, like, they're eating dinner. I pull out my own fork.
Yeah.
Because I'm like, I don't want you to have to throw yours away when I leave.
Right.
And it was uncomfortable at first for them, but it kind of like eased the tension and it opened up, the conversation for, because people don't know what to say or how to say it. It's just funny that, it's 2017 and people are still not educated.
Yeah.
And, it's like, you may not be affected, but somebody is.
Somebody you know.
And they just might not be telling you, but it's in your life.
It's in your
life.
So,
everybody should be educated on it. I specifically try to talk to younger people because that's the demographic now that's getting it, especially young girls.
Yeah.
Because, there's a lot of brothers out here on the DL, and they don't...
Meaning that...
They're on the down low
about their status.
Yeah, they're not exposing their sexual history.
Okay.
Their sexual preference.
Okay.
So these brothers are out here and they're messing around with guys on the side, and then they're coming home. They got wives, girlfriends, and because they can't be, their authentic self,
right.
Then they're portraying this role, and. That's why so many girls out here are becoming infected, because there were people that can't be truthful with themselves or with their partners.
So it's having conversations.
Yeah, it really is. as uncomfortable as they are.
Mm-hmm.
And it's funny, like I have T-shirts promoting my book. So I'm like in a grocery store or something, and I notice people look, but then when I look at them, they'll turn away.
Yeah.
And then I'll always have to say, like, you can ask me about
It's
it.
okay.
We can talk, you know.
Yeah.
Like, oh, well, I didn't know if you were comfortable. Well, I'm wearing a shirt
wearing a
with
shirt.
it. So, you know, I am, you know, but it's amazing that, you know, there's people out here that don't know, you know, what's going on. Like, I'll hand the cashier my money, and then she'll see the shirt, like, and she don't want to touch me now. So now she'll lay my change on the counter. You know, so it's like little things like that. And I don't know, we just got to do better with it. You know, it's not something that you can contract. You know, it's not airborne. It's not like the common cold. You know, you have to really put in some work to get this.
Yeah, yeah. You have a great sense of self, and it comes across very, very clearly. What is that? What do you draw on? What gives you that?
Oh, because I know this is all God.
Yeah.
You know, and I know that He wouldn't take me to it if He's not going to take me through it. I've learned that everybody has their little secret lives and, you know, things that's going on in their personal, you know, space that they don't share.
Yeah.
And because I do, like, you know, I get people coming to me, you know, all the time, like, you gave me the courage to come out to my family.
Yes.
You know, or to make me go get tested, or to do this or do that, you know, so those things are great for me. You know, it's like you're opening up people's minds. And
yeah. G, thank you so much for sharing your story with our audience. We know that in sharing your story, it's going to help someone. The purpose of Still Surviving and Walking in Your Purpose is to create empathy. And in sharing our stories, it helps others to understand, and it helps open a door for those conversations and those dialogues. So please tell our audience where they can find your book and what's next for Girard.
well, Till Death Do Us Part, HIV and Me. I'm on Amazon and bookstores, Barnes and Nobles.
Yeah. Okay. Awesome. Thank you so much. We appreciate you sharing your story with our audience.
Thank you for having me.
God bless you.
You too.
Next, we're going to hear from Certified Life Coach LaRonda Howard. Welcome to our show, Certified Life Coach LaRonda Howard. LaRonda, welcome.
Thank you.
LaRonda, after listening to G's story, how did you get a sense for the state of peace that he had?
I can tell that, you know, through the journey of his story and, of course, the book that he's written, that he's definitely have a sense of peace, and he has settled into who he is, and he's not afraid or timid by other people's thoughts. And I love that he's helping others see the need to know the facts and dispel the myths about HIV and AIDS. So I love this testimony.
Yeah, a part of his story was just that.
Yes.
How other people, how he had to deal with other people and what they thought and what they felt. And his willingness to share his story hopefully will bring attention and awareness.
Definitely.
And will put people at ease with just having the conversations and that the topic in 2017 would not still be a taboo subject that people are afraid to talk about.
Exactly.
That people are afraid to talk about.
I definitely agree. We need more people like him. Someone with a public health background is someone that have educated others on sexual health. We need people like him to really help dispel the myths and help our state. Unfortunately, Florida has one of the highest HIV/AIDS rates. You know, in Duval especially, we're usually at number 2 or number 3 out of 67 counties. So it's very important that we get information out, that people are, like you say, in 2017, people are still going around thinking you can get it from kissing and the toilet seat and just those, you know, those crazy myths. Yeah. And so especially, unfortunately, in the African American community, there's still such a need for stories like his. And very grateful that he was so willing to share it and be transparent, because he's going to impact so many people with his continued work that he's doing out in the community and personally.
And it blessed my heart
Yes.
that he is willing to talk to young
Definitely.
people.
Yes.
Young people, because they desperately need
They
the
do.
information.
Yes.
And they need to hear it from someone that they can relate to.
That looks like them.
someone that looks like them.
Yes.
That is willing to have a conversation, and also that's young enough that they can relate to.
Yes.
Lots of times they feel like, oh, well, you're old and you don't know anything, and you don't know what it's like out here.
Yes.
And so maybe he will be able to reach some of those young people that
Definitely.
really need to get the information.
I was sitting here thinking about different places that I would love for him to go.
Uh-huh.
The Florida Department of Health, Duval County, the River Region, different places that I know would love the opportunity, if he's not already working with them, to be able to provide that educational piece that's so needed. And like you said, having a real face that people can relate to, someone that looks like them, that's close in age or in that age range that they can
in that
understand.
generation.
Yeah, in that generation
Yeah.
that they can understand and know that this unfortunately is still an issue that we're dealing with. And a part of it is because of the lack of education, and awareness.
Well, we know that knowledge is power,
Yes.
and he
Very
has
much
gone a great deal to share that knowledge and that information. So we are very grateful to have him
grateful.
come and share his story on our show. And thank you for joining us as well.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
We'll be back in just a few moments with final thoughts. After having my interview with Girard and my discussion with Coach LaRonda Howard, I came away from that with a heart full of gratitude. Gratitude that there are still people out there that are willing to share their stories in order to help someone else. We know that HIV is a disease that has affected so many millions of people and families all around the world. In sharing his story, G created an environment and an atmosphere of empathy. He helped us to have a better understanding of what it means to have HIV, but more importantly, what it means to continue to live and to continue on the journey and have a good life, a successful life, in spite of. Still Surviving and Walking in Your Purpose is a show that is designed to create empathy, and listening to him and having him share his story has created for me a whole different attitude. It has made me want to really learn more and understand more, and I hope that it has done the same for those of you that have watched our show. Thank you for watching.